Hello, welcome to Azure Kubernetes Deployment Series Part 10. In this series, we are going to learn how to deploy microservice-based applications into AKS cluster using Kustomize through Azure Pipeline. In the last lab, we have already discussed how to deploy microservice applications into AKS cluster using Kustomize through command line. In this section, in this session, we are going to learn how to automate the application deployment using Kustomize through Azure Pipeline. So let's go to the Visual Studio. Here we can see I have the manifest file, and under this manifest file I have config, order, product, rabbit, message queue, and storefront folders. And these folders keep the manifest file for each of the services. And in order to create the, uh, we need to use them uh, customize. So here we have configured or structured the manifest in two different folder. You can see here base and overlays that I have already discussed in my last lab. So you can see here I just uh, um, repeat it. So here you can see I have in the base folder I have the deployment and service manifest file, and there is a customization YAML file also. So here in the customization we are mentioning what are the manifest file, base manifest file that we are using for that particular service. Okay, and under the overlays we are going to define the environment specific changes in the form of YAML files or using the customization file. Okay, so you can see under the deployment batch file, you can see I just mentioned the replicas here. Okay, so it may be any values. If you want to override it in the base deployment file, then you can mention here. Also, anything in the customization YAML file, we have to mention what changes or what uh, YAML file we have changed to override our base YAML file. So in that case, we have to mention that file here. What you are adding under this dev folder, and we also mention the base uh, folder where it's going to be update these changes. And also under this customization, we can add some other parameters. Like suppose if we go to storefront, I can show one thing here. In customize, you can see just for at present I'm just commented this, but later we'll use it. Suppose we want to change the Docker image tag within some other version, then we can include as a new tag with some new information here. So at present this is just I committed, but once we deploy it and we'll create a new Docker image, then we'll just update it to show you how it is getting changed. Okay, so in order to deploy this application and infrastructure, let's follow the steps here. So we can so initially I have to follow, we need to deploy the infrastructure. So for that we can use either Azure CLI, the script file, or we can also use this command, AG deployment command, for running the Bicep file. So I have already done using the infra, uh, created the infra deployment using script file here. So the Azure, the ACR and AKS, everything is ready in the portal. If you can go to the portal here, and we can see here under this resource group, these two things are already created. Okay, yeah. So this part is the infrastructure is ready. Next we'll go to I have you can to log into the AKS cluster. We can just log in this. Uh, Here you can log in this using this, and we need to create the namespaces as well, because I'm not using separate subscription or resource group. I'm using the same resource group and same cluster to create three different environments. So for that I have just created three different namespaces where we are going to deploy the microservice services with respective namespaces for the environment. Okay, so I have done that. We can see here if I'll just get namespace, then it should show all the namespaces. You can see here prod, test, and dev, and these are all other default namespaces available. Okay, so this part is done already. Now the infrastructure is ready, and I have already created the namespaces. Now we need to push the Docker images into the Azure Content Registry. So for that, uh, that I need to do through pipeline. You can see here, I have this order, product, rabbit message queue, and storefront pipeline. So you can, if you go this order pipeline, and you can see here I have a CI pipeline here. So this CI pipeline, okay. So what it does, it use this build YAML file, sorry, as a template file, and in this build, if you come to the under this app build here, so here we are using the Docker task, and it will build and create the Docker image and push it into the Azure Container Registry. So under this build YAML, so it is calling this template, and it is building the Docker image and pushing into the AKS Azure Container Registry. The next step is simply it is publishing our manifest file. Okay, so this artifact, whatever the manifest file, you can see the artifact name is manifest, and it is publishing this. Okay, so this will do for each of the service. For products service also we have the same um, task here, and for storefront we have the same task. For Rabbit message queue, we are not creating any Docker image. We are directly referring the Microsoft the image from the Microsoft content registry. So that part is not there. Building the Docker image and pushing it to Azure content registry. So that task is not in the Rabbit message queue pipeline. Only the publish manifest I have just added. So it will publish the artifact to the build asset. Okay. Next, and for config, here also I don't have the task for building the Docker image. Only to I have the task only to publish the artifact. Okay, so this is the CI part. It will create the Docker image and push into the Azure Content Registry and publish the artifact. The next step is the customization. What we have to do. So the folder structure I have already explained here. You can see under the manifest we have for each of the environment we have the base and the dev uh, folder, base and the overlays folder, and under overlays I have the respective environment folders. Here we have to just write our patch uh, manifest file, so that can be override in our main deployment under the base folder. Okay, so this way, in order to check whether review whether it's generating the proper YAML file for that particular service, we can check that. So in order to check for product, suppose I want to see this is for order environment. Suppose I want to check whether my it is the YAML file is generated properly or not. That we can see by executing this command. Okay, you can see here. So replica count, it shows 3 because if you see the replica count, what I have mentioned here is okay. So I'm using order for prod environment. So if you go to the orders and prod environment, the deployment, I have mentioned here 3. The replica count is 3. Okay, so that's why it is just overriding in the deployment file here. So here it is overriding to 3. Okay, so it will regenerate a new manifest file for that particular service. Okay, so this way it will we can I have this all commands here. You want to review, you can use this, and here we are mentioning the for which environment we are going to review that. So at the end I've just mentioned test here. Okay, so these are the folders. But in case of the configuration, I don't have any overlays because I don't want to override any values or anything for the config manifest file. So for that I don't have any overlays here. Okay, and in order to apply it, so in the last lab we have already shown how we can apply it using this command. We have used apply kubectl applies, then customize, then we have to mention the path which service and in which environment we are going to deploy. So this is nothing, this is the service that we are going to deploy that particular environment. And here we are mentioning the namespace for product. So product. So since we are deploying the services or the environments into two different namespaces. So we need to specify the namespace here as well. Okay, so this is done. So in order to deploy through pipeline, that we can see here, I have already created this pipeline. I'm using the same pipeline and adding as a deployment stage here. Okay, so you can see here the dev deploy stage, and here I'm using, you can see the depends on its build. So once build is success, then this stage will run. Okay, and under this, I'm just calling this deploy YAML template file and passing these required parameters. Okay, you can see here I'm just passing environment dev. Okay, so this is for dev environment. I'm here. The environment is test, and the for prod, the environment is prod. Okay, and similarly, I'm using the group variable. We have this group variable where we have declared the namespaces. Okay, you can see this namespace. I'm getting it from the prod group variable. Okay, so similarly, this is our K8 is test group variable where it will get the namespace. Okay, and here the Kubernetes dev group variable where I'll get the namespace. So these are all defined in my Azure DevOps. If we go to this pipeline and open the library, we can see here under library I have all created these variable groups. Suppose if you go to this, you can see namespace is dev. Okay, and for the others it will be different, like it will be prod and test. And in common I have defined all this: Azure content registry name, service connection, cluster, resource group variable, and service connection, all these things. Okay, so that I'm passing here, as you can see, the common, it is common to all services. So all, not all services, it is all environment. So it is defined at the top, and any any environment specific values that we can include here as variable. Okay, so that is done. And if you go to the deploy manifest file, sorry, deploy template file here, under this we can see it is getting all the parameters. These are the parameters, fewer the environment specific. And here we can see it is downloading the artifact. Okay, I mean it will download the manifest file, that what we have already published in our CI pipeline here. This we have published here, and if you come, we are downloading this here. Okay, then using ACLI task, we are just deploying the uh, microservices. Okay, so how it is happening is, the here we are doing two things. Okay, one thing that we are updating the image ID. You can see image ID, because since we are automated here, so for the images the tag will get automatically from the build ID. So we are not using in manually again v1 or v2 images, that we are not using manually. So it will automatically get the image ID from the build ID, and it will update in the in our deployment YAML file. Okay, so in this, where it will be deployed, I'll just show you. You can show in the base deployment, we have the deployment file, and here this is the image name, but I have not mentioned any tag here. Okay, so this tag will be modified during the deployment. When it is trying to deploy, it will download, and after downloading that, it will use this file from the artifact, and it will append that tag here. Okay, so if you go to the deploy YAML, so you can see here, so it is getting that uh, deployment YAML file and appending that image tag. But I have put some conditions here, because for config service, config is not a service, it's only for configuration, so there is no deployment file. So I'm not using this code for the config. So I have put a if condition: if it is not config, then come to this. Okay, so just to avoid configuration manifest file to deploy this deployment YAML. So there is no deployment YAML for configuration. Okay, next is, you can see here two things are there. If you see the rabbit message queue, okay, you can see here for rabbit message queue, I don't have deployment. This is the stateful set. So stateful state, so there are two kind of services. You can see serviceless, sorry, stateless and stateful. So all these product, order, and the storefront, these are all stateless service, but the RabbitQ message, this is a stateful. Okay, so that we'll discuss later, like how what is stateless and stateful. Basically, mm, those services that are mainly of store data, like database kind of services, those we declare as stateful to store the state of that storage. So for that, if you see here, since it is stateless, I mean the name is stateful set here, so I have just put another condition here. So if it is rabbit message queue, not rabbit message queue, then it will come to this and it will update the stateful set YAML file here. Okay, this is only for this will execute, this line will get execute for order, product, and storefront, and this will execute for the rabbit message queue. So for that I've just put this condition, and this section basically to update the tag in the deployment YAML file or stateful set YAML file using the build image ID. Okay, you can see the image ID I'm just mentioning here, image tag. Okay, so this is one thing. Then the other task, what it will do, it will execute. So these two, you can see whatever commands you are executing here. One is for to review, and the other one is to apply. Okay, so these two commands I'm executing here. You can see here, if for configuration, right? Since the configuration, I don't have any overlays folder, so that's why if it is not config, then I'm just directly running the base command using the manifest from the base itself. But if it's not config, then it will come to the respective overlays and the environment. Here it will come to the overlays and the respective environment. It may be dev, test, or prod. And here you can see also which service it is going to deploy. It is either your order, it may be product, or it may be the storefront. Okay, so this way it will try to execute this command here. So it is same, we are using kubectl apply, and this is customize, this is for review, this one is for review, and this is for applying into the AKS cluster. Okay, and same thing, this is for only specific to the config. Okay, so this way it is the pipeline is already implemented, and in order to save the time, I have already run those pipelines. You can see here config, this already mm, uh, implemented, sorry, run, and it is successfully completed. Similarly, the rabbit message queue, it is also done. It pushed the images, then deploy into the dev, test, and prod. And next, the order. So order has it will publish, do one thing, it will publish the docker image and also create the artifact, and then it will go to deploy to dev, test, and prod. So this is same for all. Okay, for product also that is done, and for storefront also it is done. So if you see now, come to this and we can see whether it is created properly or not. We can see it by get pod minus n dev. So for this is for dev environment, we can see there is only one uh, replica for each of the service, and for test you can see there will be two replicas for each of the service, and for prod it will be three. Because why it is taking, because I have modified in the deployment patch file. Okay, you can see the deployment patch file I mentioned uh, replica 3 for prod. For test it will be 2. Okay, so now everything is working, and if you go any of the service, okay, for example, if we get service of any environment, so test for example, okay, you can see this one, call this, okay, spelling call, it should be call. Okay, you can see here it shows contours of this is our front-end application. If we come here and see this is front of the application. Okay, now if you go to the portal here, you can see all these things, the docker images are available, and here you can see the error tag. Okay, so whether it is taking the proper tag or not, if you want to verify that, you can do using for example prod environment, suppose storefront we want to just verify storefront. This is for prod environment. So let me just describe that pod. So what I can do is describe pod, this pod storefront pod I am to describe, and it is in environment prod. Okay, so if you come here and you can see the image 532. Okay, 532 is the image that it is deployed from the our container list. You can see here, this correct one, 532. Okay, so it is automatically appending the tag. Suppose you create a new build, right? It will our um, pipeline will execute. It will create a new build of the Docker image and tag it and deploy into the AKS cluster. Okay, let's see how we can change it to do that. Okay, now we can see our storefront is deploying to uh, we want to see how we can uh, declare, modify it and change it. Okay, suppose you go to the storefront again, here storefront index.yaml. Let modify it. Okay, save it. Let me post this quickly. Okay, so once we post this, it should automatically run my pipeline. If you go to the storefront pipeline here, okay, you can see rabbit message queue. What I changed here, why I have changed. Okay, let's go again, check what are the, let me cancel this. This is not required, rabbit message queue. Okay, let me just go to the rabbit message queue, the storefront. Yeah, I don't have a trigger here, so that's why it did not trigger it. Let me add the trigger here. Let me just copy it from here. Okay, let me just add to storefront because we want it in storefront to be triggered. Okay, and here it should be. Okay, so it should trigger it, but now just anyway, I have already saved. Let me run it. Uh, Storefront. Let me run it manually. Okay, because we have already updated our code and we have already pushed into the GitHub. You can see now it is deployed. It deployed to all the environments. And also, if you go to storefront, you can see earlier it was 532. Now a new version 534 is created. Okay, so now if you want to verify that one, let go to any of the environment and check. Okay, get sbc minus n of let's go to the prod environment. Okay, so here if we take this and call to this IP 80, sorry, okay, you can see there is a change. Okay, so I mean it created when we changes it and push into the um, repository, it should build it and push that docker images to ACR, and it should deploy into the AKS cluster. So that it is happening now. In order to see one more thing, here we can see in the customization, you can see we have added this one, right? So if we want to revert back to any of this version, then we can use this one. Okay, suppose I want to revert back to, for example, now let's just verify. Okay, so earlier, okay, let me get that pod. Okay, so now let's take any of this and then do, okay, describe. Okay, we have to mention the pod also. Then at the end, -n prod. Okay, so if we see, you can see the image ID is 534. Okay, 534. It took the latest image ID. Okay, so it's working. Now what we'll do is, what I'll do here is, let go to this and the image. Let me uncomment this. Okay, now mine is 532 is there, right? So I want to revert back to the old version. Okay, everywhere let me just change 532 and dev a moment. 532. Okay, let me just save this and let me commit this. Okay, now if we come to this storefront, this, yeah, storefront. uh, okay, now run this pipeline. So in this case, it will again create the Docker image, because I have kept both the CI and CD in a single pipeline. So that should not be. We should keep it different. CI pipeline should be separate and CD pipeline should be separate. So CI here, we don't want the CI because we don't want to create a new Docker image with a new tag. What we want to do, we want to just revert back to the previous deployment. So in that case, this CD pipeline is required. If you could have done separate CI and CD pipeline, then you could have just run the CD pipeline. So anyway, it's fine. Let it be. But what it should work is, it should take this, but I think it may override this again while deploying. It may uh, update it in this pipeline. I mean, it may change this one here in the deploy. It may override this. Okay, okay, let me do one thing then. What I can do is, I don't want to keep this for the time. Let me change this task. I don't want to update the tag here. Okay, now if I'll go to my review here. Okay, suppose I want to see the review of this. For example, what I did is showing for me. Okay, customize. Well, cannot. Okay, you can see here now. You can see the tag came to this. Okay, now what we can do is, I have just committed. I don't want to repeat. Now let me just rerun the pipeline. Push it to commit. Yeah, I'll run this pipeline again. Let me cancel this. Okay, now you can see it is done. Let me run it again quickly. it will take some time. So so while it continue, let me just go through the labs what we have already discussed. Okay, you can see it is now it is covered part 1 till part 10. Okay, and here um, and here if you see, um, in the part 1 we just try to deploy using Azure CLI, Docker Desktop and kubectl through command line, and in second part we automated it the same thing. In part 3 we just tried to use Bicep for the infrastructure, that we did using the command line as well as through the Azure pipeline. In fourth lab, we did how you can use Helm chart, and we try to deploy the AKS cluster, I mean services into AKS cluster using Helm chart through command line. And in part 5, we automated it. And in the sixth lab, we try to update the tag, because in the previous section we updated tag manually, but in part 6 we try to update the tag through the pipeline when we run the pipeline for deploying the cluster. Let me just check. It is waiting for approval. Okay, let it continue. And next in 7 we have used, we try to store the Helm chart itself in the Azure content registry. And in part 8 we try to deploy into multiple environment. Let's progressing. It is continuing. Yeah, let it. Then in part 9 we have tried to use kustomize, and that we did manually. And this section we are trying to automate that through pipeline. Okay, let me just quickly approve this. It should deploy. Now if you go to, we can see also in dev environment. Let's see, go to the dev environment. Okay, get svc minus n dev, because it is already deployed to dev environment, and here this is the IP. Okay, and I'll do, you can see it shows contours here. It is not showing welcome because it took the previous version. Okay, so we can revert this way by using our kustomize, right? We have used kustomize and we try to revert it. So in, if you want to revert it, and then in that version we have only the contours of pet store, not welcome. Okay, and if you want to verify that using the, if you want to verify that version, we can see, okay, get pod minus n dev. Let's check the pod. Then k describe pod. Let's take the storefront pod here, and minus n. This is dev environment. Okay, so if you go here, you can see this is 532. Earlier it was 534. Okay, so you come to know like how this using kustomize, how we can deploy microservices applications into different environments, and also how we can revert back. I mean, it is like environment specific deployment we can do. Okay, similarly, just I'll approve this anyway. It is so this one also, you can see we have adding the gate or approval in our environment, so that is there. If we can go here, you can see these are our environments, and for this, right, we have added the gate. If we security, we can see here the name we have added. Okay, and here if we go approval and checks, this is the approval I have added. Okay, you can add any new name also here. Okay, okay, that's all about for today. So in next lesson, next lab, we are going to learn how to use Helm chart and kustomize both in our application deployment. So till then, bye bye, and thank you.